Hi everyone, for today's video, I'm going to be talking about false eyelashes. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because back in August, I actually put in a question in one of my Instagram posts to my friends, and I asked them what type of videos they wanted to see from me. And one of the first person to reply was actually my bride from a few years back. Her name was Lizelle, and she said like, oh, create videos about false eyelashes. Although she didn't tell me anything in particular what she wanted to know about false eyelashes, but I guess I'm just going to talk about the different types in general, and then my favorite lashes to use, and also some few tips and tricks on how you can put your eye game up. So there are many different types of false eyelashes in the market today, which was quite a surprise for me because back when I started in the industry, like maybe more than a decade ago, false eyelashes were few and far in between, especially here in the Philippines. There were not a lot of choices, and although Shuimura was around, not all of the false eyelashes that was made by Shuimura was wearable. And because I concentrated in the field of film and television, it was very tricky to find false eyelashes that didn't look too much on film. But anyway, so that's something else. But like over the past, like I think 5 years, there was like a boom in eyelashes, which is great because you can actually be very creative in your eye look. And with the boom of Instagram, I can see a lot of ladies having the courage to play with false eyelashes, which is great. So for today's video, I think I'm just going to be talking about the basics on how to choose the right false eyelashes to use, and also how to apply it correctly. Because if you know the basics, you can actually, take it from there and be creative once you get confident in the application process, because that's the only thing that's needed when you are doing false eyelashes. It's actually the confidence in your application process. So I'm not wearing any makeup today. I just have skincare on and sunscreen, and maybe later I'm gonna put on some eyeliner just for emphasis. But basically today is just going to be all about false eyelashes. Now, false eyelashes come in different designs. You have very natural false eyelashes here, dramatic, and individual false eyelashes. It's really up to you. It's a personal choice in what type of false eyelash that you're going to use on yourself. But some things you have to consider is that it depends on how long you're planning to wear it, because one thing you have to remember is that false eyelashes have certain amount of weight in them, and eventually if you're planning to wear false eyelashes the entire day, it can start to droop because gravity pulls on things, and also your eyes get tired. So if you are working in front of the computer all day, or if you're like reading things all day and then you're wearing false eyelashes, I think you have to choose a lighter version of false eyelashes so that your eyes doesn't get tired easily. And also, if you're wearing eyeglasses, it's important that you have to have eyeglasses that has nose pads that are slightly adjusted or higher, so that when your eyes are moving, it doesn't bump on the glasses of your spectacles. So that's one thing that you have to consider as well. Now, the other thing that is important when you are choosing false eyelashes is your eye shape, because that can make or break an eye look. And I know it's quite tricky, and like I said in one of my videos before, it's like a choose your own adventure book. So just be very, very careful with what you're choosing. Also, one thing that you have to consider is the materials that is used to make false eyelashes. Now, usually some of them are made of natural hair, some are made of plastic, and then also one other thing that's very detrimental in the comfort level of an eyelash is actually the bands that's used to weave in the eyelashes, because if it's plastic, it can be very, very stiff and uncomfortable to the eye, and if it's silk, that's very glamorous. And sometimes people just use thread or gauze, which is actually lighter on the eye, but it's much more difficult to handle. So eventually, as you become more experimental with the choice of your false eyelashes, you'll get the hang of things, and then as you continue to practice and to apply it by yourself, you will become adept at handling these things. Now, one of the key things that's very, very important when doing false eyelashes is that you have to curl your eyelashes properly. Now, when I say curl your eyelashes properly, make sure that it doesn't come out at a right angle, like it's not like a letter L, because it's actually going to be much more difficult to apply the false eyelashes if that is so. Now, one thing you have to consider when you're curling your lashes is the shape of your false eyelashes. Like for example, this false eyelash here is actually quite curved. So it's very important that you also try to follow the shape or the base shape of your false eyelash. So I do suggest that when you're curling your eyelashes, you try to mimic the shape of the base of the eyelash before it actually curls upward. So when you mount your false eyelashes on top of your eyelash, it's actually going to be much more seamless that way, and it's also going to be much more comfortable and easier. Now, one of the most important things with using false eyelashes is finding the right adhesive. Now, there are many types of adhesive in the market today, even some that come free, but I don't actually use those. I prefer to use the Duo eyelash glue. I bought this in the MAC store, and there are some people who doesn't like to use this because it actually stinks. No, it's not because the product went bad, but it's actually the material of the latex. Like when I also do a little bit of special effects makeup, like making wounds, things like that. So the scent of the Duo is actually the scent of liquid latex. There's a product from Kiss New York. They have also latex eyelash glue, but this is actually scented. But you have to be very, very careful with that because if you're allergic to scents in your makeup and skincare, then you might be reacting to this. Different glues come in different colors. So this is from Duo. So this will actually dry clear later. And for example, the one from Kiss New York, it's actually a darker eyelash glue like this. Although it appears black here, I don't think it dries to a super black color, but I think into a dark gray, which is also great to use. But I actually prefer using the clear eyelash glue over the black eyelash glue, mainly because I don't want the black eyelash glue to interfere or change the color of my eye makeup look. But you know, it really depends on you. It doesn't really matter. As long as you find something that works for you, that's going to be great. Now, about those glue that comes with those Korean brands, or like sometimes it comes free with the packages, I don't use it because I find that it doesn't dry well, and it stays tacky for a very long period of time. And based on my experience, it transfers and it travels around the eye, and sometimes it travels to the bottom eyelashes. So I really don't like that. It makes things look messy. So I actually prefer using latex eyelash glue because when they dry, it doesn't budge and it doesn't move. So one of my favorite eyelashes to use are these natural eyelashes from the Landmark. There's no brand, but I have been using this eyelash for years. Like it's very natural, and it actually mimics a very naturally curled eyelash. Now, I don't really apply the eyelashes straight out from the box all the way into the eye. I actually put it on top of the eyelash first, and I try to measure the exact length that I need to cut in order to have a much more better fitting eyelash. Now, when I'm measuring the exact length of the false eyelashes that I'm going to be using on the eye, now I make sure that I start by getting the right measurement from the inner corner to the outer corner. And when I am cutting this, I make sure that I cut from the outer corner instead of the inner corner of the eyelash, because at the inner corner of the eyelash here, it's actually shorter, and naturally on your eye, the eyelash on your inner corner is actually also shorter. So this will make it much more seamless and look more natural. So I actually put a little bit of the eyelash glue at the back of my hand, as you can see here. And I get like a brush, like this is just a spoolie. And then I use the bottom of the brush and I use that to load the glue onto the band. Now, depending on the type of eyelash that you have, just make sure that you apply a generous amount of glue to the outer and the inner corners of the eyelash, because this is where it would actually lift from the eyes, especially if there's too much movement going on the eye. And you will actually see that after a few hours, because of, you know, just the way things are, that your eyes are always moving, the outer and the inner band would start to lift already. But if this is made of either silk or thread or gauze, it will last longer on the eye because it's not as stiff as a plastic band. So when I am attaching the false eyelashes, I just make sure that I lay the band on top of the eyelash and I gently push the band onto the very base of the eyelash where it meets the skin, because it's going to be much more secure that way, and it's also going to be much more natural. Now, although at this point you can still see like some white glue marks on the band, but eventually it's gonna dry clear and it's gonna disappear. Now, that's also one of the main problems that I have with using black eyelash glue, because sometimes it can get a little bit messy when you're applying it, and when it dries, you know, it just makes it more difficult to clean up later. Now, one of the main questions that I get with people when they are applying false eyelashes is, when do they actually apply mascara? What I actually like to do is that I apply mascara after I have applied the false eyelashes. Now, I don't do this after curling the eyelash because it's much more easier for you to blend your false eyelashes and your natural eyelashes together. This just helps create a much more seamless look. So as you can see, my eye here looks much more fuller, much more awake, and it doesn't look overwhelmed and overpowered. So that's why this is one of my most favorite false eyelashes to use. Now, one other trick is that sometimes when you're using a specific false eyelash, is that sometimes the band can be very, very obvious. And what I like to do is that I get an eyeliner and I'm just going to add some very thin layer of eyeliner in the inner corner of my eye here, just to complete the look. And also, one other thing, I am also going to gently line it at the very base of my eyelash, just so that the band will actually optically disappear. Now, you can actually do this before applying the false eyelashes. It's really, really up to you, and it just depends on the look that you're going for. But for me, this is a much more natural look, and it's at least less graphic. So if you don't want people to notice that you're wearing false eyelashes, this is a great way to do it. Now, one other thing that you have to take into consideration when you are applying or using false eyelashes is that you have to know how your fold actually hits your eyelashes, because there are some people out there wherein the fold of their eye actually hits the eyelash. So when this happens, it disturbs the band much more easily. Now, expect that you have to bring your eyelash glue with you all the time so that you can retouch it once it starts to get lodged. And then one other thing also, if you've noticed that with your eye shape, your inner corner of the eye is where your fold actually hits or meets your eyelashes. So this way you have to make sure that you don't apply the band all the way into the inner corner, to the, especially to the part wherein your fold and your eyelashes meet, because eventually as you continue blinking throughout the day, this will just, you know, become very, very uncomfortable. And other than that, it will also break down the glue that's holding the false eyelashes onto your eyelashes. Now, the most important thing when you are using false eyelashes is that you have to consider your eye shape. Now, this can be very detrimental on how good your eye would look like when you're using false eyelashes, because it can either enhance your eye shape or it can just bring it down further and make it look sleepy or weepy and not alert. Now, for example, with my eye, aside from using very natural looking false eyelashes like this, I also like to use corner lashes that actually help lift my eye. But as you can see here, it has created a very, very lifted look into my eye. Very, very different from this. This looks very awake, very round. But this eye here looks very, very lifted and very subtly sexy without looking overdone. And I really like using this because, you know, it creates a much more elongated eye look without overcrowding my entire eye. Because for example, I have an eyelash here. It also has long corner lashes, but it's just too fluffy for me. Although it's longer at the corners here and it has a lengthening effect, but it's just too fluffy for my eye that it's almost hitting my eyebrows. And this doesn't do anything for my eye. It just makes it more crowded, and it also closes up my eye. And one other thing that you have to know is that when you are using false eyelashes, it's supposed to help you open up your eyes to make it more alert and awake. And with this one, it's just making it too crowded. And if you compare this to the other eyelash that I used earlier, this is just way too much for my eye. Now, if you are someone who has a lot of distance between your eyelash, your eyelid, and your eyebrow, then you can play with a variety of false eyelashes. The fluffier, the better, because your eyes can actually handle it. And one other thing also, when you are using fluffy eyelashes like this, you have to be very careful, because if you are someone who, you know, is playing with a lot of eyeshadow colors and blending extensively and putting on a cut crease and putting on eyeliner, when you wear false eyelashes like this, it actually covers your eyeshadow look, and that actually defeats the purpose. Be subtle. Make sure that the eyelashes that you are using will actually work for you. Although I know that you can see a lot of wonderful eye looks on Instagram, but one thing you have to consider in Instagram, you're only looking at one eye. And if you're also looking at someone who's showing their face, they're always at an angle like this, and they're only showing how it looks like on one eye. That's something that, you know, is also nice if it's a look and if you are in a static position, like for a photo. But if you're applying false eyelashes for everyday life, you have to remember, when you are facing someone, when you're talking to someone, it's always face forward. So always put that into consideration, that you have to make sure that everything looks balanced, because you don't want your false eyelashes to be the conversation piece with the person that you're talking to. Now, my most favorite thing to use are actually individual false eyelashes, the flared one like this, mainly because I find that it's easier for me to apply them on myself and on somebody else. And these types of false eyelashes actually come in different varieties. We have the short flare, we have the medium flare, and we have the long flare. Now, I don't use the long flare much because I find that it's just too long. But I actually prefer to use and mix the short and the medium. Now, the reason why I like using this is because they're actually very, very light. And because they come in different varieties, I am able to layer them and create my own eyelash look on the eyes. Now, when you're applying individual false eyelashes, make sure that you actually curl your lashes first, and then you set them with mascara. The main reason why you have to do this is because you are applying the false eyelashes individually to your eyes, and if you run mascara through it, it might remove those individual eyelashes. And make sure that you comb through your eyelashes just so that they're much more neater and they're not clumped up. This just helps create a base for your eyelashes. Now for this, I would actually have to use a tweezer. So you remove the individual false eyelash from its packaging, and then you load the glue at the very base of the eyelash here. And all you have to do is just to gently mount it on top of your eyelashes, and you gently press it in. And that's it. It's very, very simple. I know it looks tricky, but actually practice makes perfect. And it actually takes a while to learn this trick. But if you do this, it will actually change your eye game. And it's actually much more comfortable to use than a full strip eyelash. Like, there was one time I was doing makeup on Susie for Mars, and it was our summer special, and I didn't know that they were going on a jet ski. I was actually using individual false eyelashes on Susie then, and they went on the jet ski, but I really didn't know what it was going to look like when she got back to the shore, but I was so glad that all of her eyelashes were actually there. So that's also the great thing, I guess, about using latex as your eyelash glue, because it will just allow you movement Now, I also use this on Mystery Hill a lot, and also on Eula because it's just much more comfortable. Like, especially when you're acting and you're doing scenes all day, all night, individual false eyelashes will prove to be very, very comfortable. I think I just need to add one more individual eyelash here at the very inner corner. So as you can see here, let's compare these two eyes that I have. So this is my full strip natural eyelash, and these are my individual eyelashes that I attach. Now they are quite natural and they're very, very light. And I have to say this is actually more comfortable than this at the moment because this eye doesn't have a band, and it's actually the band that causes a little bit of discomfort because it's actually pulling on the skin. But if you're using individual false eyelashes like this, it's much more comfortable because they are laid individually on top of the eyelash and also on the skin, because I make sure that I attach this on the skin and not on the eyelash because it's much more stable that way. Now, if I want to add more drama to my eye look, I'm gonna use now the medium flare eyelashes, and I'm just going to add a few pieces into the outer corners here. And this will actually also create a much more fuller appearance. And just like that, by applying it into the outer corners, like from the middle all the way to the outer corners, it's making my eyes look very, very lifted, but it doesn't look overcrowded, which I actually like. And if you are using like, you know, very nice blended eyeshadow colors, this will not impede onto the colors. It will just create a nice wash of shadow that will help blend all of the colors together without making the eyes look heavy. So that's very, very important. So now my eyes, it's still very, very lifted and still very, very awake. Now, if you're going for a very nice graphic eyeliner look, this is very great to use because it will not impede on the design of your eyeliner. Because sometimes if you're going to be using a very full eyelash like this and you apply this and attach it, and then if you're going for a graphic eyeliner look, it just disappears. So just make sure that the false eyelashes that you're using will work together with the eye look that you are going for. Now, what else that you have to consider? Oh, by the way, when you are using false eyelashes that are made of plastic like this, be very, very careful because they will actually reflect light. Now, if you're trying to create an optical illusion that you have so much depth and thickness in your eyes, and when it's made of plastic, the light actually bounces from it and you can see some white reflections coming out from it. So it actually destroys the optical illusion that you're trying to create. So be very, very careful with that. In terms of reusing and cleaning, it's possible to do that. All you have to do is to clean it individually after every use using very, very gentle eye makeup removers. So you can use what you use to remove your eye makeup because that will actually also break down all of the glues and the eye makeup that got stuck into the eyelash band. Now just make sure that after you've cleaned it and wiped off all of the makeup remover, spray some alcohol on it, like at least 70%, just so that all of the bacteria that accumulates there will actually get killed and it will, you know, not give you any eye infection in the future. Now, what determines how many times you can reuse your eyelashes is actually the health of the band. Just make sure that when you're scraping off the glue, you're not pressing on it too much, because if you press on it too much, the band will actually curl and the lashes will look like a clumped up caterpillar. So just be very careful and be very, very gentle with it. A little pressure goes a long way. Now, for individual false eyelashes like this, it's possible for you to reuse it. Just make sure that when you're removing it one by one, you are not adding too much pressure, because adding too much pressure when you're removing it actually also changes the shape of the eyelash. Okay, so that's it from me today. If I failed to mention anything, I'm sure I'm going to pick up on it and I'm going to mention it in some other video that I'm going to be doing in the future. And if you have any more questions about today's video, how I attach, use, and reuse false eyelashes, please leave them down in the comments box below and let's have a conversation about this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye bye.